Hello, everyone. My name is Nova, for those of you who don't know me, and this is going to be my quarterly reading recap for the first quarter of 2026. So, I'd like to start with my reading tendencies in the past and like my reading history. So, I tend to gravitate towards queer romance and fantasy books. That's like my go-to genre, and I like thrillers a little bit too, although I don't do horror. And I'm not really into action books, and I really struggle getting into dark romance. But I want to read more nonfiction, and I've been trying to read more nonfiction recently. I also read a lot of like graphic novels, typically. So, yes. And before we get into the books I've read, spoiler alert, I'm going to be spoiling books. So, I'm gonna say the name of the book, how many stars I give it or think I'll give it, depending on if I finished it or not. And then I'm going to give spoilers. I'll put spoiler incoming before each spoiler, but yeah, it's my little disclaimer. So let's get into it. Hey guys, it's Editing Nova here, and I would just like to say I use the term spoiler very leniently, because I know a lot of people like to go into books like fully blind without knowing any details, but in this, I'm not giving any like detailed things about the books. That's not true. I am a little bit, but not much. Unless it's like the nonfiction books where I like talk about what it teaches. So yeah, I feel like that's important to add. None of the spoilers are like major spoilers or anything. I'm just putting it for people who like to go in fully blind. But yeah. Okay, first up, I finished, I think, 4 books this year so far. Yeah, so the first book I finished was The Modern Oracle, Fortune Telling for and Divination for the Real World by Lisa Boswell. And I rated it 3 out of 5 stars. I honestly would give it a lower rating, but that felt mean. But yeah, the book just felt very like pyramid schemey and like infomercially. And a lot of things were like stated as like this is the way to do it, even though they were more of a personal preference. This book was part of my personal curriculum for 2026, so that's why it's nonfiction and Wicca based. But yeah, and like each type of divination was only explained in like one specific context. Like for the tarot section of the book, it was only explained for romantic relationships, which is not all tarot is used for. So I didn't like that. And I did do a little bit of research on her. None of this is like facts or anything. This is all a theory, a hypothesis, if you will. But there were some things I saw that were a bit shady about her. Like allegedly, she like raised prices for her classes, saying it was like the final opportunity to take the class, and then like she would continue to offer the class like sometimes for like $100 less than the final opportunity price. And it was very shady business practice, and like you can kind of feel it in her book. So I wasn't a fan, but I did learn things though, which is why I gave it a 3. It should be like a 2.25, but I round up. So yeah, that was the first book I finished. Next up was Kitchen Table Magic, Pull Up a Chair, Light a Candle, and Let's Talk About Magic by Melissa Sinova. Also, sorry if I mispronounce anyone's names. My apologies. I also gave that one 3 out of 5 stars. And this one was a bit harder to rate and like tell why I didn't like it. But because like I really think the author had like great intentions and the book has like really good information and great spells, but it just felt very like, I don't know if people still use this word, but like chuggy. Like, I don't know. I don't have a better word for it. But yeah, she was like always mentioning Harry Potter and waiting for her letter in the mail. And like, anyone can like anything. Harry Potter's a good series. I hate J.K. Rowling, but I understand the appeal of liking Harry Potter, especially in the magic community. You know, I understand all that, and age doesn't define your interests. However, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure she was like a professional tarot reader, like when the first Harry Potter book came out. So she was up there in age. Like, it's not, she wasn't a kid. So the waiting for her letter thing is like, okay, well, you have a master's. I don't know if she actually has a master's, but she was grown, is my point. So I fear you're not getting the letter. Yeah. So like I said, anyone can do anything. You know, age doesn't define your interests. It was just very odd. Yeah, she also, like, throughout the book, she's like, anyone can do magic, like, everyone has magic in them. But then she also keeps calling people who are, like, non-practicing, like, not actively practicing, muggles, which, for those of you who haven't seen Harry Potter, is a slur. That's the slur they use for people who don't do magic. So, I don't know, a bit of a disconnect there, but it was an overall good book. It was more enjoyable to read than others, so that one got a solid 3 for me. The next one is kind of embarrassing. I finished 1984 by George Orwell this year. I gave that 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. Also, this is not a political commentary. Yes, that book is very political. I think everyone should read it. It's super important, especially in today's day and age. However, I have not done the research to talk about it as a political commentary at this point. So, it's my little disclaimer for this book. Another thing, I finished 1984 by George Orwell this year. I did not read 1984 by George Orwell this year. I actually started reading it early last year, and I read the last 2 chapters this year, so I got to mark it as finished. So, yeah, but it's very good. I think the message is incredibly important. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars though, because it's dense. That is a dense book. You definitely have to be ready to read and comprehend with that book. So yeah, that's the only reason honestly, it's probably like a 4.5 for me. Now, like, after I've like sat with it, so I might go back and edit my rating, I don't know. But yes, I do think it's very important, especially in society today. Fair warning, that book is sad. Like, it's very bleak. I honestly can't remember like a scene in the book where I was like happy and I was like, oh, like things are looking up. But that's also the point. Yeah, like there's no, in this kind of like insane dystopian world, there isn't any happiness. So I do understand that that was the point, and I think it was like a really good touch. Yeah. And I think like the dystopian aspect and giving things like more bizarre names and like more on the nose things was also really important, because it's like pointing out what happens in today's society, because it's like a lot of things are crazy, but they just have like more like legalese and covert names, so it sounds less crazy. So I really like how the book did that too. I will say you can tell it was written quite some time ago, which is true for almost any book. Like, you can tell. Yeah, also the main character Winston was odd. Like, everyone's odd in this world, obviously, but he's just odd. Like, outside of all of the like regime and bizarreness going on, he is an odd man. Like, he's just odd. So yeah, but yeah, that's 1984 by George Orwell. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend that. book. And the last book I finished, actually finished quite recently, was Lock Every Door by Riley Sager slash Todd Ritter, which Todd Ritter wrote under the alias Riley Sager, which was a lot of controversy because people think he's like using a more feminine name to sell his books better. But you know, that book was a 5 out of 5 for me, 5 stars. So it was really good. And this one was for my book club. 1984 was also for my high school book club, which is why I started reading it. So I technically started reading it 2024. But yeah, Lock Every Door by Riley Sager was the book club pick for this semester of my college's book club, and like my special programs book club. So yeah, it was really good. 5 out of 5 stars, and it's like a thriller about a woman who gets a job as an apartment hunter, and she's like really down on her luck before this. Like, she just lost her job, found out her boyfriend was cheating on her, and then also lost her house because she lived with her boyfriend and his name was on the lease, all in one day. So yeah, so she gets a job as an apartment sitter in this like super wealthy building. It's like full of like the uber rich, and they're paying her $1,000 a week to just live in the apartment. So she's like, hell yeah. Yeah, but like the building has like a very suspicious past. Like there's rumors about it being cursed, a bunch of people have died there, like a bunch of crazy stuff. So yeah, technically speaking, I'm not supposed to be done the book yet. So because since it is for my book club, we haven't finished the book together yet. But I couldn't put it down. I just had to finish it. Like, I really did try to go on pace with them, but I got too into it, and then the book was done, and I was like, well, I guess I just won't spoil the ending in the club. So yeah, now, because it's also one of those books, like, once you finish it, you can't really say anything without spoiling it, because you know all the twists and turns, and there are twists and turns. Oh my gosh, it's insane. But yeah, the book is so interesting. And the sequencing and like writing style is amazing too, because in the book it jumps between like for the first half of the book it jumps between now and then like 5 days before, now and 4 days before, now and then 3 days before. So that was, and then the second half it goes like 1 day after, 2 days after, 3 days after. It's great. I absolutely adore that kind of writing. When done right. It can be done horribly, but this was done so amazingly, and it absolutely was perfect with the like thriller suspense genre, because like we're in the present and we see like what happened, and we're like, okay, how did we get here? So I really did love that, and it really keeps you guessing about like what happens in the book. The chapters were also quite short, which I love a short chapter. It's just, I don't know, it makes the book feel like it's going by faster. And I have a short attention span, so it's, you know, I love that. And the characters are all like so fully fleshed out. I absolutely love that. And like, it feels very like realistic. Like a lot of the things that happen, it's like, yeah, that could actually happen. Like I could, like, if this was a news story, I would be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But like, it's not something out of the realm of possibility, if you know what I mean. And also, since it's like a thriller suspense kind of book, every single detail feels important. Like, I was highlighting stuff, and at points I would catch, like, I would look at the page I just highlighted, and I'd be like, okay, well, I basically highlighted the whole page, because everything feels so important. And like, I could not rest easy until I knew how they all connected, and it was literally so satisfying at the end. I will say, when I finished the book, I did start sobbing. Not because like it's not exactly like it's not a sad ending. They weren't sad tears. I was sobbing because one of the parts was I don't know, maybe emotional. But I was also in my school's like main building, like the union here. So I was sobbing in the Union so hard that I had to leave. Yeah, because people started staring at me. So yes, that is all of the books I finished this quarter. So okay. Next up are my in progress books. These are the books I'm currently reading. I'm really bad at finishing books, which is why I've only finished 4. But there are 3 books. There are 4 books I'm currently reading. So the first one is Before We Disappear by Sean David Hutchinson. I'm 68% done with that book. It's a historical queer romance. It's also fantasy thriller-y, but yeah. So it's like a cute Romeo and Juliet type of forbidden love between 2 magician's assistants. And I've enjoyed it so far. I'm curious on how it'll end, because like there's a lot of plot points that haven't been resolved yet, and I know I'm only 60% through the book. It's also a very long book. Like, this book is thick. I don't remember how many pages exactly, but I think it's around 400, which is way longer than I usually read. I usually don't read books over 300 pages, because it takes a really long time for me to read books. But yes, I do adore the main characters, and like the supporting casts, like their little group of friends is absolutely awesome to me. Like, it's so sweet. They warm my heart. It's also beautifully written, and like the characters feel very authentic. Absolutely adore this book. I think I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 stars. That's my estimate right now, but we'll see how the ending changes that. I'm also only 68% through, so a lot can change. The next book I'm reading is Poetry as Spellcasting: Poems, Essays, and Prompts for Manifesting Liberation and Reclaiming Power by Tamiko Bayer, Destiny Hemphill, and Lisbeth White. I'm 22% through that book, and it's so good so far. But yeah, it's a book that uses queer and BIPOC perspectives on poetry as a ritual for manifesting liberation and reclaiming power from like oppressive systems. And it's so interesting. There are a lot of trigger warnings, and it can be quite heavy at times. But I've learned a lot, and it provides a lot of insights into like how things like writing can be a source of power and magic. Yeah, it's also a very nice showcase of art from these like amazing women who like have made a career out of these kinds of things. And like you can see the different writing styles, and it shows, like, it adds to the authenticity of the book. This book is also nonfiction because it is a book of essays and poems. Yeah, and like it's very raw, and you can feel the emotions like on the paper, but it's still like educational in a sense. I don't know, I'm bad at explaining things, but I think I'm gonna give this book a 5 out of 5 stars. So yeah. And then last up is another book from my personal curriculum. So the third book from my personal curriculum on this list. Star Power: A Simple Guide to Astrology for the Modern Mystic by Vanessa Montgomery. I'm about 40% done with this book, I think. And it's a guidebook for beginners in astrology. So I like it. It's very informative. It's easy to understand. It's a little bit out of order in terms of things. Like, it'll say something and then it'll use a term like a few times, and you're like, okay, well, I don't know what that is. And then later on in the book, it'll define it. So in that sense, it's a little bit out of order. But all of the information is written in a very easy to understand way, and there's like examples used like of how things would be interpreted in your astrological chart, like when talking about a specific planet in a house, it'll be like, for example, if this planet is in the first house, it means this, or like it could be interpreted as this. So yeah, overall a pretty decent guide so far. I think I'll give it like a 4 out of 5 stars. And last up, I am currently reading A Short History of Transmisogyny by, oh gosh, I don't remember who it's by. I'll put it on the screen. But yes, it's a really good book so far. I absolutely love it. It is very heavy, and it is essentially a book-long essay, which makes it dense, but also like it has a lot of really important information that I think a lot of people need to read about more. So I have really been enjoying it, especially because it points out a lot of things that happen in our current society that are a result of trans misogyny, and it explores why trans women specifically are in such a vulnerable state that like women and other trans people can't necessarily be placed into. And it also talks about how like trans misogyny extends beyond trans women, and how other people are roped into the whole like trans feminine umbrella even if they don't identify themselves that way. So yes, it's very good. I think it's gonna be a 5 out of 5 for me, but we'll see. I'm only on like the first chapter of that book though, so I've only like read the introduction and half of the first chapter. So we shall see. But yes, that is all of the books I am currently reading. That is all of the books I'm currently reading. Yeah. Okay, next up is my reading goals for the upcoming quarter. So I want to read more nonfiction. That is my number one thing, and I've actually gotten so many more nonfiction books in preparation for this. I've been trying to learn more because, you know, learning's important. So I want to get more into nonfiction and start using reading not only as like escapism, but also as a way to like grow my mind. So yes, I've been collecting more nonfiction books, you know, adding more to my my want to read list and all that. So next I want to read more long books. Like I said earlier, don't really read long books because they intimidate me. So, but a lot of really good books are just long. So I'm gonna be a big kid and try to read more long books. And I've also found that reading things on like my iPad or my laptop makes them feel less long because I can like change, like the page count is what intimidates me. So if I just like make the pages bigger, then the page count goes down and it feels less intimidating. So I've been trying that. So hopefully that helps me get through these books faster. Next thing is to commit to fewer books at a time. As I said previously, I'm currently reading 4 books. That is not the best way to enjoy books, because for me anyway, because like now my attention has been split between these books and I feel like I can't fully enjoy everything one book has to offer without feeling like I'm neglecting my other books, and then I end up just not reading at all and starting a fully new book, which is a huge problem. So I do need to work on that. I also have a problem with finishing books, so which is another one of my goals, finishing books in a timely manner. So because like I have trouble finishing things in general, like even if it's like a big project or a book I'm reading or just like a TV show. Like I literally stopped like with 1984. I stopped at the last 2 chapters and put it down for like 6 months. So I do have trouble finishing books. So what I've been trying recently is like putting in my schedule. Like if I'm like, oh, I want to read this book, I'll put in my schedule how many chapters to read, like each day for like a week or whatever, so that I can like actually finish the book. Another thing I've been doing with that is like I'm not starting any new books until these books are read. I say now. I'm gonna try not to start any new books until all the books I have are read, so then it's like a motivator to finish these books so I can read another book that I want to read. So yeah, although I will say the books I read for my personal curriculum and the ones I read for fun are separate, so technically I'll be reading 2 books at a time. But that's different. Like the stuff for my personal curriculum is essentially like my school textbooks, so, and then I have my leisure reading, so I'm gonna try to keep it as 1 for each. Maybe 3, maybe I'll have like personal enhancement category in there too, but still less than I'm doing now, and finishing them in a timely manner. Yeah, and my last goal is to make progress with my current TBR. I have a bad habit of like seeing a book and being like, oh, I have to read that right now, and then I'll read that book, and the books that have been on my TBR for 3 years never see the light of day. So I need to work on that. Instead of just like adding new books, I need to read the books I currently have before getting new ones. So that is my last goal for this upcoming quarter. We'll see how that works out in my next reading check-in, unless I decide to start doing these monthly. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's all I have in terms of my little reading recap. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Love you. Yeah, have a good day.